Come on up. We got a wonderful panel today. It's okay. We got Teana, Yves, and Shuhei. These are all wonderful leaders from our industry. And from what I just heard, we got an important call. I guess he's okay, but Lewis cannot make it. He just got in a car accident. And Sebastian also, I think because of the scare, we got last minute, he couldn't make the flight. But we are still going to be amazing today. We're going to provide some great entertainment. And these three will pick up the slack from the other two. So you'll get double the whammy on each one of them, okay? How's everyone feeling? This is kind of like that mid-afternoon, you need your second wind.
I need coffee.
Yeah, I could tell. No one even responded. You guys are like falling asleep here. All right, well, I'll make sure I'm very loud so I wake you guys up, okay? I'll put my sexy voice on, all right? Barry White. Barry White, huh? There you heard. You read my mind. Okay. I'm gonna make sure this is not your normal blockchain tech panel. Okay. How about we do that? That'd be fun, right? All right. I've been to so many of these damn conferences and spoken so many. Sometimes they're all the same. So let's have some fun here, right? It's the afternoon. So I just looked over and saw Tina's eyes, and she was just like, "Holy, the hell did I just get myself into?" All right. So today, we're gonna, I think I just wasted about 2 minutes on BS banter, but hey, you know what? At least it was fun, right? At least I'm having fun, that's all I really care about. So today we're gonna talk about the global perspectives on blockchain and the future of finance. This is always a hot topic because we wanna know where we came from, what's happening right now, and in the future, right? What's going on. So before I jump into some questions, let's just do a little short intro of who you guys are, what you're about for the crowd. We can start. Let's start with you, Yves.
Hello everyone, I'm Yves Messi. I'm a blockchain engineer and architect at R3. I focus on architecting capital markets infrastructure projects, insurance and payments projects at R3 in Europe, the Middle East and Africa. More notably, I've been very active in some of the better known projects in Switzerland with SIX and SDX. And with some of the European clients like Tier 1 financial institutions looking to essentially jump onto blockchain.
Hello, I'm delighted to be here today. My name is Shuhei Kataoka, the first secretary at the Japanese embassy based in London. My former position is deputy director at the cabinet secretariat at the government of Japan, and also we have the innovative policy for the accelerate your mission based on the blockchain with experiment with governments. I would like to show you some of the experience, the real use cases in Japan based on the blockchain. Thank you.
I'm Teana Baker-Taylor. I'm the Managing Director of Looking Glass Labs, which is a bespoke consultancy working primarily with digital asset firms on commercial strategy and regulatory affairs. I previously was at Global Digital Finance, so you just heard from Lawrence a few minutes ago, so I have been working with policymakers globally on trying to synchronize and harmonize recommendations for digital assets globally.
Wonderful. Thank you for that, and I'm glad I got another fellow American here, so it's good.
Ooh.
Woohoo! I think we're one of the only ones, right? Any other American? Oh, 4 of us here. Oh, is someone clapping? All right, great. Okay, so let's just dive right in. I want to start with Shuhei, because even though he's here in London, but you know he works with Japan, those governments, and the London government. Japan has a very special place in my heart because I've worked there for years in blockchain industry, and I have a tattoo of Mushin on my arm, which means no mind. Tom Cruise talks about it if you've ever seen The Last Samurai, but I promise you I got the tattoo before that movie came out. Okay, so I wasn't biting Tom Cruise. So hey, this is really interesting to me. Japan used to be the #1 crypto economy, right? And they were really pushing innovation with those markets. For the past year and a half, it's kind of really slowed down there, and it kind of breaks my heart. I was doing a lot of business there last year and kind of had to pull out because of that. Where do you see Japan moving right now? You know, we have in April, right? I mean, you know this, that we have the regulation coming out for digital securities. I'm hoping that they stick to their word, what they did last year. Where do you see Japan moving forward in? Are we going to actually see a real STO market there? Are we actually going to see a more movement of the exchange market there? Granted, there are the exchange markets there, and you see Line just finally got their approval, right? Line now has their own exchange. Line, the messaging app, also owns the exchange, for those of you who don't know. Where do you see Japan moving forward right now?
From my own perspective, Japan is open and acceptable to the emerging technology like based on blockchain. So please you can search the regulatory sandbox in the government of Japan. As you know, in Japan, the Japanese Financial Service Agency also approved the virtual currency business player for the 22 in this February. And also, the first regulatory sandbox and for the finance project and the first blockchain project is approved in 2019. The crypto garage and also Bitcoin and also the exchange virtual currency and the Japanese yen tokenization. This is very successful, the 1 year and a small project for the restricted for 3 or 5 business player because there is almost nothing strictly rule in Japan, but the Japanese government would like to make the new rule with you. So the rule making thoughts. So the we product, our Japanese government product is a policy, public policy. So we produce the innovative public policy for the regulatory sandbox, like the England, UK's FCA, and also the Abu Dhabi and the Singapore and so on. But the Japanese regulatory sandbox is open to the not only the FinTech, sometimes based on blockchain for the clinical development, information sharing, so some type of the business is acceptable. So if you have any intention or interested into the entering the new market to the Tokyo and the financial city and also Japan, please don't hesitate to contact me. I think that, there is a very good potential for the Japanese market.
Wonderful. Thank you for that. Thank you that. All right, Teana, my U.S. pal. Let's talk about the U.S. a little bit because, you know, I don't know if you saw my keynote earlier. I love talking about the U.S., as we all know. You've been one of the, kind of institutional market leaders and big voice there in the community, speak everywhere. Where do you see the U.S. headed right now? Because you see a lot of changes right now on the digital security regulation. We're also seeing in the digital assets, we're starting to see some public pressure about, a CBDC, right? And stuff like that in response to China and stuff. What do you see really happening? I want the streets right now. What's really happening, not the spiel we hear in the news.
Well, my inside sources tell me. No, just kidding. No inside sources. So I think if you look at the U.S. economy or the U.S. as a global leader, the dollar is the peg currency that we use for a lot of jurisdictions. That's a bit of a privileged position. However, as globalization has impacted or started to become more prevalent within finance, that's been quite disruptive. And I think when you look at things like tokenization or security tokens, you've mentioned, as Loretta said earlier, there are existing security laws, whether they're tokenized or not. Security is a security is a security. Now, I think that it's up to the industry to look at how they look to develop a number of these new types of packaging for securities to ensure that they can go to market in a way that is compliance first, right? So I think that would help adoption and acceleration a little bit. The competitive nature of global finance, coupled with the innovation and things emerging, not just China as an example, but Libra really, I think, brought the tokenization disruption to the government forefront. So it became really prevalent in their minds that a corporate or a technology company or basically anyone who wasn't a sovereign money issuer, a central bank, could potentially create something that allowed people to transact with each other globally without that governmental intermediary. And I'm not going to say that one is good or bad, but that idea around creating frictionless transacting and being able to ensure that more people have access to financial services should really be at the heart of whatever the tokenization of any kind of fiat currency is. So, I think at the moment, the US has absolutely woken up. The regulators there have been globally more apt to take action. Sometimes they are, in the form of warnings. Sometimes they, we're starting to see cases settle now, not just at a or a national level, but at a state level, and which does impact that kind of national policy making, the decision making of national policymakers. The U.S. is very different, much like Europe, where you have independent states that can come up with policy on their own. So I think we're in a period of a lot of catalytic change over the next 18 months. And we have policymakers in the U.S. that are very forward-thinking. So, Commissioner Pierce has been very active, engaging the community to seek, feedback on some of the proposals that she's putting forward, which I think could have some impact.
Very cool, very cool. Thank you for that. It's interesting times that we're in right now. I believe we're in a new paradigm shift. The access of information is being distributed by the millisecond to all of us. So we're starting to see a lot of realities here in our world. And I think it's just, you're smiling at me. I just did an interview before this and I talked about that. I'm getting a little wink. Yeah, it's just an interesting time we're in right now. Anyways, enough about me. Yves, you're at R3. That's a great company.
I am, yes.
Hold on, don't start yet. I need to praise you a little bit more. R3 is a phenomenal company. They've been one of the front runners of this industry. Though they're kind of, you guys are kind of centralized. I mean, you're not really decentralized, right? But you're kind of centralized through a bunch of institutions, but we won't go there right now. Either way, you've been a front runner. It's phenomenal. I just spoke with you guys on a panel in Thailand at the end of last year. R3 is phenomenal. Since you guys have been one of the forerunners with institutionalization, right? And to a certain degree, not mass adoption, but kind of institutionalization, which is another form of mass adoption, right? Mm-hmm. Where do you see the future headed with mass adoption? And not so, you can talk a little bit about your, R3, because you guys are doing so many different things, but, within your company and in the future, what are their challenges,
right? And
things like that.
So, I mean, it's a bit of a tricky one because the lessons from blockchain 1.0 and maybe 2.0 was that, a lot of blockchain started with retail innovation without thinking about the backbone of the global financial markets. And the position that we've taken is that we want to start where finance is today and build a bridge to where it's going tomorrow, thanks to this blockchain wave of decentralization that's attracted so many people. So how are we driving mass adoption? I think we're driving mass adoption by enabling the key levers. And by that I mean projects like SDX, for example, in Switzerland, which is going live in a couple of weeks to maybe months from now. That's sensational, essentially. They're going to prove a production use of blockchain technology to trade equities in a way that's already getting a lot of attention in Thailand, as you said, in Singapore. We're doing a lot of work with Singaporean authorities. Project Yubin, which is publicized, with the Eurocoin that you may have seen during the Christmas holidays, and other central bank digital currency projects. So there are three main legs of this mass adoption. We're working with central bank digital currency and commercial cash projects. We're empowering potentially players like custodians to play a role digitally to make sure that we can have a safe, reliable way of matching billions of dollars of trades per year. We usually look at crypto as disrupting the entire financial markets industry, but we have to remember that we get 300,000 transactions per day in crypto. Real financial markets see 300 billion transactions a day. So when it comes to crypto alone, we're not there yet, but we're hoping that R3's Quarter blockchain can be a bridge where players with robust technology in existing financial markets can lend their expertise to crypto markets, making them mature, making them safer to be adopted, and therefore making them more institutionalized. So we're very much taking a base layer approach from where finance is today and bridging it to where it's hoping to go tomorrow.
It's great. Thank you for that. Yeah, you guys are doing a lot of work. Your APAC, I think, head of sales, I forget her name who I spoke with. She said you guys are working with Thai banks right now.
Yes.
Lots of stuff. Yeah, that's really incredible. Let me take it back to Shuhei. I think this is interesting. At least it's very interesting to me. Maybe you guys won't give a crap, but why don't you touch on being a first secretary of the embassy? I think that's just an interesting, I've always found that fascinating. Like, countries have these representatives, right, and authorities in each country, and they work together, but each one of them has their own kind of jurisdiction on certain things. Are you specifically just for crypto and blockchain, or do you cover other financial things? Could you explain a little bit more about that, and then how your role with Japan and London, this business channel with crypto and blockchain is?
I'm seconded from the Ministry of Finance, the government of Japan. So my involved area is so broad. So first of all, one of the research for the UK HM Treasury's budget project for the next week, or some of the researching for the data taxes, and also researching for the financial regulation in the FCA or PLA and so on. And also sometimes we research for the UK border for the HMRC for the tariff and the free trade agreement UK and EU, the situation. So I like these type of the technology, FinTech, and also based on blockchain project, because I involved in Tokyo, government of Japan. I involved in there for 1 or 2 years for the making the accelerates policy. But unfortunately, we moved to the 1 year ago from the Tokyo to the London. So sometimes we have not only the blockchain and the finance, and also I'm involved in the helped so many business people, the UK and the JP, and also making the networking, the reception, and also sometimes Japanese policy or seminar, some of the reception for including the Japanese wine and the Japanese sake for the FinTech industry. That is, sorry.
I heard about, you said the wine. There was a project that one of my buddies, that you probably know him there, was working on, and was it E&Y or Deloitte was working on with the wine and STO around wine? Yeah. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, do you know the Japanese wine made by the Japanese grape and the brewed in the Japanese and sorry, not the reason why. Sometimes we have consulted from the UK FinTech firm or Irish FinTech firm when they wanted to enter into the new Japanese market. They started doing the research. I can connect some of the financial regulator in Japan or some of the blockchain professional in Japan. We are connected to the idea of the business model. And also sometimes we wrote in Japanese some of the overview of the good point of the UK FinTech firm, some of the Irish FinTech firm. 1 year ago, I wrote some of the article for the FinTech firm, so in Japanese financial magazine. 1 year after 1 year, they can open the Tokyo office and also the call center for the Miyazaki prefecture. Sometimes this type of the support.
Very cool.
Personally, yeah.
Right. Let's move into kind of a hot, topic right now. Obviously, central bank digital currencies is hot right now. Everyone's talking about it. We've had a lot of panels, keynotes on it. I kind of want to address it from a different angle, more of a political standpoint, and what that means to global economics, what it means to negotiation strategy, what it means to the future powerhouses and global leaders, different economies, and the kind of power struggle we're seeing right now between China and the US. I think it's really interesting. Teana, why don't you touch on that? How a non-biased point of view, okay? Because we know you're American. Hold on, I didn't even ask the question yet. So how much of China's decision to launch that digital currency, right, was motivated purely by the technology or a way to gain independence from the US dollar and global power that's been tied to for so many years. And then you can expand on what you want to talk about.
So I think that the digitization of any sovereign currency enables new ways of being able to have people invest into your economy and being able to invest in other economies, right? So the relationship between China and the US, whatever the geopolitical concerns are, those two economies are very invested and divested amongst each other, right? So there's a relationship there. If I were China and I were able to create an environment in which I were able to offshore my currency, which has traditionally been, only onshore, unless you're looking at RMB, which didn't really take off the way that I think China had hoped that it would. This is a new opportunity to try to offshore their capital again. So if we look at the way global money works within a commercial banking system or at the central bank level, being able to settle with each other is infinitely important. The faster, the cheaper, all of those things that you would hope for at a commercial banking level, things that are 3 enables, or technology like Ripple to bring down transaction cost and time and increase throughput. So a CBDC, we talk about it in the context of a crypto asset. It's really not a crypto asset. It is a digital asset, but it's really just the digitization of a fiat currency. And there's a number of ways that we digitize transactions today. So, I think that it's getting a lot of news, but it's also a bit hyped, in my opinion. And we're starting to see those countries, take steps to digitize their sovereign currency now. And I don't think it's going to be very far off until it becomes a bit of a watershed moment where it just becomes the norm.
Yeah, Cambodia is already, I think, either officially done with the process or just about to be done. So yeah, there's major steps headed in that direction.
But I don't think it's necessarily a geopolitical, I think there are probably elements of that within the speed to market, but I think it is more representation of the speed at which we're innovating than it is necessarily in a response to a geopolitical tension between the two countries.
And you know what also I like that you said, you really just highlighted, like, this is nothing, I guess it's special in essence, right? It's innovative technology, but really all this is a digitized asset. It's not some unique thing. And they touched on that as well in the last panel before me, talking about digital security. It's just wrapped in blockchain technology. And as we move more into institutionalization and mass adoption, I think we're going to start seeing that. And even, I like to always say, I had a pitch deck going around with a company I worked with where we were raising money and stuff, and I was trying to figure out a way to, bypass this level of thick skin with investors at an STO. And I'm like, all this is what Uber did for the taxi industry. It's just innovation. It's the same exact thing.
Well, I think that's what CBDCs, the promise of them could deliver, is a demystification of digital assets and a mainstreaming of the technology or what the technology can enable, so that it doesn't seem like these digital assets are weird, fake, funny money on the internet.
So if I can jump in just for a second here. One more thing, I think, when it comes to CBDC is a lot of blockchain innovation in crypto today. You see people tokenize everything. I've seen everything from yachts to wine to horses to, your scorecard, I don't know. The one thing that I'm seeing is, again, in Switzerland, you're seeing something fundamental where if the Swiss franc is available on a tokenized basis as a CBDC, then any blockchain application that has any kind of digital asset immediately gets more liquidity. And that gives a lot more experience then with the established liquidity venues to experience market making with these new type of instruments and make a lot of blockchain applications viable today. Because everyone here, I hope, knows that blockchain is not mainstream yet, because the minute you've tokenized anything interesting, you spend 2 years with a legal team trying to figure out how to bank on it, right? So that's going away with CBDC becoming more available. And I'm also noticing commercial cash. So there is CBDC at a sovereign level, so a country issuing a digital version of its currency. But then there's a window of opportunity for private commercial entities, like JPM Coin, for example, no comments there, to issue their own commercial cash that we can use to speed up these blockchain innovations and make them more viable. I hope that contributed to a bit of your point. It's not just a geopolitical matter, it's really to bring life to tokenization use cases, I think. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Great, great. Geniuses up here. I'm so fortunate I get to speak with them. Unfortunately, we're running out of time. We got about 25 seconds left, and as opposed to me just hogging the last few seconds, I promise I'm not going to do this. Let's have a little fun round of something. I want you to just give a yes or a no, okay? Speed round. Centralized or decentralized?
Decentralized.
You're at R3. I don't understand that.
Well. I'll explain later. Tweet me.
Yep. It was actually supposed to be a yes or no, but okay. And I think through the hubbub, we actually lost all our time. I had a few more. The next was going to be that famous, what is it? Jesus, blah, blah, blah. Who would you kill or marry? Anyways, bad joke.
Oh, dear.
A little too much here. All right. Thank you for our wonderful panel. Pleasure.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thanks. Great to see you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Now, come on, audience. I can see you're flagging. There's one more panel before after.